on December 5th, 2022. Review agenda for addition, removal, or adjustment of any items. Anything, Doc? And Val, hear me.
Nothing from me.
Okay, thank you. Overview of Zoom meeting operation and procedures. Rules for participation. Please mute your microphones and be recognized by myself, the chair, if you wish to speak. Item 2, public forum. This is opportunity for anyone who wishes to speak on an item that isn't on this evening's agenda. Okay. Great for 5. I'd like to call the Bristol Selectboard meeting anything for this evening on December 5th, 2022. Review agenda for addition, removal, or adjustment of any items. Not. Okay, moving on. Item 3, department head round. Anything, Doc? Let's start with Sharon, town clerk's office.
Good evening.
And Val, hear me.
One election's over, but there's still some work to be done there.
Nothing from me.
Okay.
Also gearing up for the next election.
Overview of Zoom meeting operation and procedures. Rules for participation. Please mute your microphones and be recognized by myself, the chair, if you wish to speak.
Sewer reads.
Item 2, public forum.
Every month,
This is
but we
opportunity
will
for
have
anyone
another bill going
wishes
out.
to speak on an item that isn't on this
Just
evening's
doing a lot of
agenda.
catch
Great for
up
5. I'd like to call the
Town
Bristol
reports,
Selectboard
stuff,
anything
things
for this
rolling,
evening
and
on December
so there's a
5th,
lot of things going on.
2022. Excellent. Review agenda for any questions for Sharon this evening, or adjustment of any items. Not. Okay, moving on. Item 3, thank you, Sharon. Department head round. Anything, Doc? Let's start with Sharon, town clerk's office. See, Meredith, recreation department. And Val, hear me.
One election's over, but there's still some work to be done there.
Right. Nothing from me.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we had a great
Overview of
turnout
Zoom meeting
for the
operation
town
and procedures.
meeting.
Rules
It's been
for
3 years since we
participation.
had
Please
Chris
mute your
Hamill and the
microphones and be
BDS
recognized by myself,
this month.
the chair, if you wish
It
to
was
speak.
just, it was really
Item
great.
2,
It was
public
nice to have
forum.
him
Every
back
month,
in the
This is
big
opportunity
meeting.
for anyone
We
who
got
wishes
the
to speak
tree
on an
from
item
the
that
West
isn't
End.
on this
Just
evening's
doing a lot of
agenda.
catch
Great for
up.
5.
Came
I'd like
out
to
to be
call
about
the
24 years
Bristol
old.
Selectboard
Down
anything
in
for this
the
evening
rings.
on
So that
December
was
5th,
exciting.
2022.
And then we're just gearing up
Review agenda for any
for
questions for Sharon
Friday's
or
candy cane
adjustment
hunt.
of any
It would have
items.
been
Not.
great if we
Okay,
had
moving on.
snow. It makes
Item 3, thank you,
life a
Sharon.
lot
Head
easier
round.
for us
Anything,
to
Doc?
just
Let's
put
start
them
with
in the
Sharon,
snow for the kids
town
to
clerk's
find.
office.
So this is going to
See,
be
Meredith,
a little
recreation
bit
department.
trickier. But
And Val,
Walgreens
hear me.
gave us
One
over
election's
300
over, but
candy
there's still
canes.
some work to be
And they're
done
the full
there.
size.
Thanks
So
for me.
game on for
Okay.
that.
Thank
Gearing
you.
up for
So
the
we had a
next
great
election.
Overview of
turnout.
Zoom meeting
Members
operation
of
and
town
procedures.
meeting.
Rules
It's been
for
3 years since
participation.
we've had
Please
Chris
mute your
Hamill and
microphones
the
and be
BDS
recognized
during
by
the first break.
myself,
We haven't
the
offered
chair,
that
if you
before.
wish
It
to
was
speak.
just it was really great.
Item 2, public forum.
That's
Every
up in
month,
the air, but that we
opportunity
can
for anyone
I think we don't
who
got
wishes to
the
speak
tree
on an
from
item
the
that
West
isn't
End.
on this evening's
doing a lot of
agenda.
catch
Great for
up.
5.
Came
I'd
out
like
to
to
that.
call
That
the
seemed to be a
Bristol
great
Selectboard
thing
anything
for all
for
the
this evening
boys to do.
on
And so that was
December
really
5th,
exciting.
2022.
And then we're just gearing up
Review agenda for
for
any
the
questions for
Friday's
Sharon
candy
or
cane. If you
adjustment
have a
of
child,
any
it's been
items.
great if we
Okay,
had
moving
snow.
on.
It may
Item
have
3, thank you,
life a lot
Department head
easier.
round.
Quite a bit of
Anything,
swim
Doc?
stuff that
Let's
we
start
in the
with
snow for the
Sharon,
kids to
town clerk's
find.
office.
Jackets and
Meredith,
toys and a
recreation
little bit
department.
of goggles. But
And Val,
Walgreens
hear
gave us
One
over
election's
300
over, but
and
there's
that
still
the
some
hub
work
is
to
the
be
full
done.
size.
Thanks
So
for me.
okay, another
Okay.
Thank you.
so we had a great
Overview of Zoom
turnout.
meeting
Members
operation
of
and
town
procedures.
meeting.
Rules
It's
for
been 3 years since
participation.
when it
Please
comes
mute
to
your
budget
microphones
time. We
and
got
be
eight
recognized
during
by
the first break.
myself,
We haven't
the
offered
chair,
that
if
before.
you wish
It
to
was
speak.
it was really
Item
great.
2, public forum.
That's up in the air, but that we
Opportunity for
and the
anyone
same
who
got
wishes to
the
speak
tree.
on
We're
an
looking
item
at
that
West
isn't
End,
on
possibly
this
returning to
evening's agenda.
2000. Came out
I'd
to
call
that
the
budget to be
Bristol Selectboard
forecasting
anything
for all
for
the
this evening
boys to do.
on
And that was really exciting. Getting phone
and
calls,
just
gearing up
review
for
agenda for any
the
questions for
Fridays,
Sharon
candy
or
cane,
adjustment
town halls,
of any
right
items.
great
Okay,
times
moving
this
on.
month. We
Item
have
3, thank you,
that's pretty
Department head
exciting.
round.
Quite a bit of
Anything,
swim
Doc?
stuff. So yeah, there's
Sharon
the world
or
in the
adjustment
fine.
of
Jackets
any
and
items.
toys
Meredith,
and
recreation
a bunch
department.
of goggles. But
And Val,
Walgreens,
here.
fantastic.
One
Over
election's
300
over, but
and that
there's
the
Wonderful.
hub is
Thank you
a
very
full
much.
size.
Any
So
questions for
okay,
Meredith?
on for
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
So we had a great
Overview of Zoom meeting
members
operation
of
and
town
procedures.
meeting.
All right, moving on. Let's move to Andrew, treasurer myself.
We had a
Mr.
step
Chair,
before.
if you wish
It
to
was
speak.
Hi guys,
so that's
public forum.
that's
Currently,
up in the air, but that we
right now,
and the same
working
got
with
the
the
tree.
teacher.
We're looking at
That
West
isn't
End.
on
Couple
Possibly
things
returning to
that we're just trying to
2000.
tidy
That
up
budget
for the
to
end of the
be
year.
forecasting for all the boys to do. And that was really exciting. Getting
Life
and
is
gearing up
that
for
the administrative
Fridays,
portion of the
town
audit
halls,
for
right?
FY22 is done. I signed it last week. According to the fixed asset auditor, things looking very detailed, very nice. As far as anything else really goes, just working on some delinquent taxes and just a couple other odds and ends.
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony. Any questions for Anthony?
Yes, I have 2 questions. Has Peter given us an end date, a definitive end date?
No, he has not. What I'm trying to help him with right now is he likes to call it his dirty laundry. Just tidying that up. He's got a couple items that he just wants to square away that he doesn't want to leave me with abruptly. It's not sort of like some long-term items he's been working on for like the last year, but they're pretty much almost finished.
Okay.
So
Second question is revolving loan fund. I see there's a couple that haven't paid for a while.
yeah, I've got to reach out. I was waiting for the most recent statement to review who paid, because we had a couple late payments in October, like towards the end of the month, and due to some paperwork issues, I wasn't able to actually see it until I got the statement. And now I get to actually reach out to those that are still delinquent. So
Yeah, I was gonna say,
that's my next step.
Hasn't paid since May, I think, or May.
Yep,
June.
there is one that has not paid since May. There have been a few others that we have been keeping a close eye on and have been pretty vocal about. And Valerie knows about them as well, and we've worked together trying to figure out.
Okay.
Yep.
And Anthony, I got a question. I noticed we paid all the town appropriations to the list from town meeting. Will that, usually those are paid in, they usually pay those in past years. The second set of taxes are collected in April. And will this, paying them early, will that make us short?
No, we always pay them in the end of November,
We did?
beginning of
Yeah.
December.
We do.
Okay. All right, okay. No, we won't be short then.
No, we'll be okay.
Okay. All right.
Good. Excellent. Thank you, Anthony. Moving on, let's do Bruce, the police department.
Good evening. So for the month of November, we generated 314 incident reports, had 2 criminal arrests, and issued 47 warnings and tickets. You probably noticed we changed the speed radar signs when you come into town, just as a friendly reminder to drive carefully.
They made me laugh, Bruce.
What message did you have?
Well, both. I had to make sure what the second one said.
I only saw the have a nice day.
No, it now says naughty and nice.
There's actually three
Is there-
depending upon your speed.
Wow.
Okay, then I wasn't going fast enough then.
Those are really so cute.
That's great. Wonderful. Thank you, Bruce. Any questions for Bruce?
Anything else?
No, that's it.
You still have somebody in doggy jail?
I don't believe we've found the owner of the dog yet.
Okay.
Oh.
Doggy jail. Oh dear.
It's not one from
All right.
my way.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. Is Eric behind you, Beaker?
He's not here tonight.
Eric will not be here tonight, and in his conversation with me, he would have very little to report other than they are just doing the routine maintenance to get ready for winter
Okay.
and to keep up with things.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everyone. Item 4, dog ordinance violations hearing. Vicious dog at large and other dog ordinance violations. Dog owned by Dan Shepherd.
Hopefully, folks had a chance to review the document or posted online. Quite a few documents.
Now we
Pretty
got
ugly.
people here for that.
Okay, good.
Okay, who do we have in the audience this evening at Holly Hall?
We'll start with Ed.
Ed, Mayor.
Judy Mayer, Amy Jones.
John Skogstrom.
And John Swepston.
Are you here for the dog complaint?
No, no.
Oh, okay. But you're here. You don't live out there. You're just,
Okay.
There's some
okay,
relation
I know where
to
you're.
dog trees.
Is there is there anybody representing Dan Shepherd this evening, or he is not joining us?
No.
Okay.
He was sent a certified letter. Whether he received it or signed for it or not, I don't know.
Okay. And we know that the police department has issued violations to him in person, as reported in the details,
Right.
the letter that we received. Okay. How would you like to handle this?
Are you asking?
Well, I'm asking Val and asking the rest of the board, since there are numerous directions that we could take. It's obviously we like people to be in person, especially if it's someone where the accused, as it were. But with them not being present, it makes it a little bit more challenging. I don't know, Peker, maybe Joel, you have more experience than I, perhaps, as being longer on the board. How have you done this in the past? I know I've had a couple, I think, that I've dealt with as a select board member, but I don't know. I defer to you, perhaps, Peker or Joel or Michelle.
Let me just give Joel just first complaint was in May. Dan's dog went after Judy's sister, right?
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Went after him. Didn't bite him on because she had a rake in her hand to keep him away. And then the second complaint was not too long ago where he actually bit one of their dogs. Neither dog were registered. They issued a violation to both to have them registered, and Dan got a vicious dog complaint or a vicious dog ticket. I think
A warning, only a warning at that
Was
point.
it a warning? Okay.
Yeah.
And Sharon, have the dogs been registered since the since the warning?
I sent mine in on Thursday.
No, I'm talking about the dog.
Well, neither dogs.
Thank you, Judy.
Oh, there's.
Yeah, Mayor's came in the mail today, so we do have hers, but we don't have anything for Shepherd.
Okay. Well, I mean, given the nature of complaints, I think Val's suggestion of having the dog tied and secured, or some sort of fencing. I know that we've talked about that in the past for other dog owners where we've had violations and had incidences. I don't know, board, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think we do what we've done in the past.
And what we just did on the one we just had a couple weeks
Right.
ago.
I mean, I think that's the route where we tell them that they have to keep the dog hitched or under control, and if they can't, then we'll take the dog.
Yeah.
And they have to get him registered. He has to get it registered, and what did we give him? A week, last time a week.
And each day that it's not registered is a separate offense.
Right.
Correct.
You should be reminded of that.
May, when you on it off with the rake till November, does the dog come over quite often, or you don't see it?
It hasn't come over in between those two
incidents.
incidences. They have let it loose
Trying to get a pattern.
in between. What did Alma?
That was a while ago.
That was before.
Yeah,
It started 3 years ago.
Oh, okay. So
What kind of dog is it?
A Cane Corso. It's a kind of a Mastiff.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big dog.
In the garage.
Yeah, and the thing is,
It came after him in his own garage.
we're in fear. Our dad, who's 94, still drives. He can't go over there. If that dog is loose, which we don't trust that it's locked up, I mean, that's the end of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it has affected how we have family time.
Well, the ordinance is very clear about having control of your dog. So, I mean, we'll start with telling him that he has to have control of his dog, and if it's not taken care of, I'm speaking on behalf of the board. If I say something you don't like, speak up. But if in the event the dog gets loose again or comes on your property, if we're notified, we will issue a warrant to take the dog.
Because I talked to him, or I messaged with him last weekend, and he apologized and said that the dog would be leashed or he was going to get a run. but I've seen the dog loose twice since then. So he does what he wants to do. And it's
Or
very
somebody
scary.
does what they want to do because he's not there. I mean, he works during the day, so he's not home.
Well, he was with the dog.
Yeah.
They say that they don't leave the dog alone, but the time that it bit my dog, his wife was in the yard, but the dog ran about 150 feet in the time it took me to run 10 feet to get in the house. And the dog was on my front step that fast. It was just tearing across
Was
the
she
yard.
yelling at it?
I don't think she knew what
She
was
didn't
going
know.
on.
I want to say in my incident, when we were going to garden, we had rakes. Thank God we had them in our hand. We screamed for 3 minutes straight for somebody to come out. And it's not, this dog is a huge dog with a huge jaw. It's something that is petrifying when it's lunging at you, and it did the, you know, and boom, you know, and so the fact that they don't seem to care is very stressful for us. We have relatives that have literally stood in their car because they saw the dog was loose. They came from Massachusetts, didn't know the whole story. I mean, that's how massive and scary this dog is.
Well, it's been going on for a while, so it's just a matter of time before somebody is in the wrong place at the wrong time and gets attacked, and then that's
A
all
2-year-old
bad.
or a 3-year-old just coming up or being in the front yard would not survive.
Judy, did your dog, when you said it got bitten, maybe did it get any, to go to the vet or any?
I called the vet, it didn't break the skin, it just swelled up under the skin, and she said it would be okay, the body would absorb whatever was fluid or blood under the skin. So I didn't need to bring her in.
And that has been vaccination your dog was, don't know what the other one was, but. we don't
Yeah, my
know that
dog
from you.
has all her shots.
All shots.
With regarding the attacks, is it been consistent in terms of your dog being out there, where the neighbor's dog is going for the dog, or is it just random? It doesn't matter if the dog is out there.
It's people, anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the only time, I think, when our dog was out there.
Yeah, that was one time. No, twice. When they first moved in, it was a little aggressive towards my dog in the driveway, and the wife came over and tried to smooth things over, but that was when they first moved in. But he was in his garage, and it charged him in our own garage. So.
And all these incidences are the dog coming into the property.
On our property.
I have to ask, just to be clear.
Sure.
Your dog stays on your property?
Yeah.
You have
Our
control of your
dog
dog?
is
Okay. I mean, because that,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna turn around and be.
She's always on leash or run because she's part beagle,
Mhm.
and if she's not,
She's
gone.
she's gonna take off.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just wanted to be clear because and the last thing I wanna do is jump on Dan and then have him come and say, well, the dog's over on my land all the time.
And
So-
it's a King Corso, it's not like it's a.
No, I get it. I just wanted to be clear
that
that the dog wasn't going out,
Yeah,
you know.
I understand.
Protecting its property,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. And then between the neighbor and your property, it's just open, correct? Between the two property lines. Okay. Okay. Well, I think it's going to be. We'll send out a letter, in which you'll have 5 days or a week. What's our standard for that, Val?
Well, the letter went out November 30th.
Well, you said the letter, but this is going to be. So
But
wait.
I'm just saying, if he was notified November 30th that he needed to register the dog and he hasn't done it yet,
Okay.
you know, do we give him another week?
To the end of this week.
I'm not sure.
This would be the select board's order. So I'm wondering, Bruce, do you think it's something that's possible to be hand delivered? I know that they apparently work during the day.
Yes, we can deliver it.
Okay.
Did you say that the wife is at home during the day?
I don't
Or do they both work?
I don't know.
Ah.
So,
Yeah. I haven't
Car's
got
not
one.
usually there, so,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Okay, I would say registered by the end of this week.
I'll do
And
it
if
both
not-
ways. I'll definitely do one registered, and if Bruce can also handle everyone, that will help ensure that they get it.
Well, I was
Thank you, Bruce.
thinking that he needs to register his dog by the end of this week.
Oh,
Since he hasn't done it, we sent him a certified letter. He's had multiple letters from the police department with regard to this and violations. I think he needs to register by the end of this week, and if he doesn't, I think, well, I don't know if the dog needs to be taken at that point.
Is the request to have the dog tethered in some way or contained in some way, does that go out separately from that letter?
no,
I think it's all in one.
It's all
all in
in
one.
so my only concern, I'm with you, Ian, I want it taken care of as soon as possible, but if we
Yep.
can't get a letter to him in a timely manner,
Right, that's what I was.
if we
gonna say.
can't get a letter, say Bruce goes to deliver a letter tomorrow and he's not there, and Valerie sends certified mail and it doesn't get picked up until Thursday,
He's not gonna have it done.
that he's not,
And with the office closed on Fridays.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to give any more time than what we have to, but I think we need to be realistic as far as making it so that he can, obviously it should have been done already and it hasn't been, but
Right.
we're
Yeah,
sending something out and we can't tie his hands so tight that he doesn't have a chance to.
Well, we've sent the certified mail letter on November 30th. We've asked him to attend this meeting this evening. We've advised him in the letter to take immediate measures to secure his dog. And we've said that he needs to register it. I don't know. I agree. I want to give people time. I don't want it where they feel that they're unable to do that. But we have sent almost an exact same letter. And I know that we're having the hearing this evening, but I do feel that time is of the essence here. And as they've mentioned, it seems like something might happen and something more serious. And so I'm concerned about that.
Well, I don't want them living in fear to get out of their car and go into the house.
No.
Absolutely not.
Bruce, if you went there tomorrow, let's say, and they're not home again because they work.
They're home right now.
Right, could you have one of your officers deliver that in the evening?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's what
All right.
I'm
well,
out of the
so let's-
office all morning tomorrow, so I won't be able to produce the letter until the afternoon at best. I'll be on the road. So
Is Sharon able to do the letter?
I mean, I can prepare it and print it. I can't do the certified mail part.
I'd like to at least give him a weekend to, at least till Monday maybe. The dog there's gotta be arrangements to have the dog either tethered, hooked, leashed, all the time. As Peter said, it's gotta be in their control, but, so, he gets home at night and it's dark to put up a pole and do the chain and all that. That's one thing, but at least gotta have that thing tethered by the end of the weekend. Completely tethered at all times, if it's outside and not under his control.
Has he been over since the last incident, the dog?
No.
No.
Okay. Well, let's have Val work on the letter tomorrow afternoon, and then hopefully we can get that. We can have maybe Sharon work on the certified mail part, and have Bruce or a member of the police department deliver tomorrow evening. Does that sound reasonable? So we know that it actually gets to Mr. Shepherd.
Do we? Do we need to send a certified letter if the police department hand delivers the letter?
Right, I mean, to me, that's just as good as
true.
certified, if not better.
Yeah.
If we deliver it, you don't need to send another one.
I don't think so either.
Well, that's
So
good.
if we can have that done by tomorrow night and give him to the end of the week to have the dog registered and give him the weekend in case he doesn't have time, as Joel says, give him through the weekend to make sure that he has a secure method of letting the dog out. Does that sound like?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Does
And
that
I don't
sound
know, do
like
we want
something
to?
that's acceptable to you?
I just feel like this guy's not taking this whole situation very seriously because he's had all this time and nothing's been done, but something's gonna happen. And I feel like we're just kind of not really doing anything, and then something is gonna happen. And say, man, I wish we would have took that dog 2 weeks ago. It's already come after him. It's come after her. It bit her dog. It came after them. I feel like we should be already past letters and notifying. Like he knows his dog is dangerous. He knows it comes over there all the time. He's made no effort to remedy the situation. So another letter is just gonna waste more time until something happens. Because it's not like it's a rabbit coming over and doing. This is a big vicious dog. Like it's just a matter of time. I just feel it seems kind of foolish for.
But we don't.
I know you got a protocol how you have
Right,
to
but
do
the board,
stuff, but
Judy had said that it hasn't been over since a couple of weeks ago, the incident,
Was it the 28th?
28. So that was 7 or 8 days. So we don't know whether.
But there's
he's already gotten a
dog
hook for it. We don't know.
What?
there's
I'm
no
sorry.
fence.
We don't know whether he's already gotten a chain and a hook for it.
He has a chain and a leash.
So
Already.
that may be why he's not had come back over since. So, but I think if we send him a letter.
He's had that for a really long time.
He just doesn't
I've
use
seen
it.
him with the dog loose twice this week. It didn't come over to our yard because it was early
So
in
he
the
isn't
morning.
complying then. If
He
you've seen
isn't.
it twice loose, he's not.
But I think
He's
Well,
not
he has
complying.
control of the dog and it doesn't leave his property. I mean,
That's a
I
fine
totally understand what you're
I
saying,
know.
you know, but
Has
If-
this dog bothered any of his other neighbors?
I asked Kim and she said no. They
Huh?
didn't have any real issues with it.
But their back of their house is right there at the front of your house, so that's like, when he comes out, he's coming right into your property, really.
I know he has gotten loose and ran down to, is it Chris's house where Libby used to live?
Oh,
down across the bridge or
Yeah.
across the river.
He's run down there and they've gone tearing after him, trying to get him back. But I don't think he does that very often.
I'm just worried for my family. I'm just worried.
I totally get it.
You have rightly so to be worried.
Because
And I want to take care of this. You know, I'm thinking of more of a, and he mentioned, or somebody mentioned a run. You know, that, okay, we gave you 2 solid daylight days that you're not working to put up a run. If not, we're taking the dog.
Yeah.
Or a run, or some sort of
Some kind of
containment.
run, containment, or we're taking the dog.
That sounds
Yeah.
good, because he told me last weekend he was getting a run and then he didn't.
Right.
So that's.
I think there needs to be a consequence. And if the dog is not registered by Thursday, because the office is closed on Friday, and there's not secure measures in place that are apparent by the end of the weekend, then a consequence is that the dog gets seized.
Okay. Yeah,
And,
and we'll have.
You mean taken forever, or just taken to
the-
shake
to the,
them up and then bring it back?
We take it and then
forever
it's
and
surrendered.
Surrender.
Yes.
See, that's just a no-win situation, like why?
No, she's saying it would be surrendered.
Oh,
He
they
would
take
surrender
it.
it. Yeah, he has. to
We would
surrender
take it, he
We
wouldn't
would
get
take
it
it
back.
It would go to Homeward Bound
down.
Yeah.
for adoption.
Okay.
You would take that seriously. I mean,
Yeah. That sounds really good.
Yeah, it
I
sounds
mean,
good to me. I mean,
Like you said, I'm gonna just blow this up and say, if we saw Middlebury Fence or a fence company putting up a chain link fence all the way around his property on starting Friday morning, we'd say, okay, he's making an effort.
Yeah.
And they didn't get it done until the following Tuesday, and we
Yeah.
said, nope, Monday, if you didn't have it up, we're gonna take it.
Yeah.
We could probably
No,
say,
if he's
no, the fence is
making an
going up.
Yeah, if he
It'll
makes
be-
an
it'll be
effort
done by-
to.
Well, yeah, I hate to see him take his dog, but like, I don't want to see
To me,
Somebody get
hurt.
just a
There aren't very
hook
many
to
other
start
options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. I'm fine with that.
I want to
Go ahead, Val.
I want to check in with Bruce because we're putting some stuff onto the police department. How is that going to go? I mean, is that okay? Is it, do you have the capacity?
We can deliver that as soon as we have a letter. We'll make sure it gets delivered. If you make some kind of stipulation that the dog can be seized. We cannot go on his property and seize that dog without a warrant. If the dog leaves the property, then we can pick up the dog. Dog in our possession, and then we could obtain, or you would have to obtain a warrant to continue seizure of the dog, like we did in this incident.
Yeah, and yeah, we have done that before.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
So Valerie or Ian or Bruce, everybody here can answer, I guess, on the TV is, so are we gonna, hey, Bruce makes a visit on Sunday late afternoon, just about darkness, and he sees, they've made a run, there's a cable, and looks like it's a secure thing. Would that satisfy the board to say, we had our dog police chief look at it, and it feels that it can be contained if it's hooked? Is that going to satisfy the board? Are we going to follow up, so to speak, and make sure, not just say, oh, I did it? No, we're going to see it physically done. Someone's got to check it.
If you go back and look at the wording that you used previously and follow that same wording, where if the dog does leave the property and we seize the dog, then we will maintain seizure of the dog after you obtain a warrant. And if the dog does leave the property but gets back onto the property before we get there, you can still request a warrant and we can go seize the dog after that. So if he maintains control of the dog, there's nothing that we are required or need to do.
Okay.
So it means if the dog gets away and gets on your property, you need to notify us.
Mhm.
If I'm
Take pictures.
I'm understanding you correctly,
So
Bruce,
that we
we
don't have an
can't
argument.
do anything with the dog until it's off his property.
Correct. Yes. And if we go back to, and I'll try to find that case, it was a couple years ago, and we'll use the same wording in the same format, but I'll get that.
Yeah. And if that does happen, Bruce, I won't be around to draft any kind of subsequent correspondence, so somebody else will need to do that.
Yeah, we can have Sharon work on that, I think. Okay. Sharon's nodding. Good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's.
Bruce and I will take care of it.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, I think to answer your question, Joel, I think if we see an effort being made that the dog is being contained, I think that's a good sign. If, as it's been mentioned earlier, that there is a pole and line there, but it's not being used, and if that's what we're seeing when the police department goes there, I'm not sure. It's, I don't want to play the waiting game to just wait for the dog to get out again, but I think we need to be just a bit cautious of that, because there is potential for that happening, and if the neighbors are able to notify us as soon as possible, that's a real benefit to us.
Who should we notify?
I would call Sharon.
Call Sharon. Yeah.
Sharon, is that what you're saying, Sharon? I can't hear you.
Either me or Bruce, the PD.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Sorry that you had to deal with this.
Thanks. Hopefully he stays put.
Yeah.
Off the Harvey Road in Bristol.
Corner, Harvey.
Before the store.
Do we need a motion to send that letter?
You cut a tree down there, a few years back.
Good
Yeah,
question.
let's do that.
I think it would be a good idea
Yeah.
to clarify the details.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll make the motion to
The Brown House.
send the letter to the Shepherds,
That house right next door.
delivered by Bruce, or delivered by the police
And that's
department,
on 160.
That
Yeah.
DMP.
to
And I guess-
contain and register their dog by the end of the week.
Okay.
I have kids. too.
And also have the stipulation of the dog will be can be removed if they don't make efforts to contain the dog.
Very hard.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Hope it resolves.
I'll second it.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second for that letter. Any further discussion on this matter? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thank you, and thank you, Val, Hopefully we'll be able to write that tomorrow afternoon, get that off, and Bruce or an officer will be able to deliver that.
And I will include in that letter that that the registration material can be dropped off in the drop box if the office is closed when they're by, or even on Friday, it could be dropped off in the drop box.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. All right, item 5, we're back to regular business. Item 1, consider resolution to confirm the November 8th Pine Street waterline replacement bond vote results.
Yes, as I mentioned at a previous meeting, there was an oversight in the Pine Street waterline bond vote in that the bond notice was not posted in the Addison Independent 3 weeks in a row. It was posted just for the first week to satisfy the special public town meeting notice requirement. And that our bond attorney found a statutory provision that allows the select board to acknowledge this and pass a resolution with all the whereases of what transpired, and the vote that was overwhelmingly successful, and to certify the results of the bond vote. At first, I included a draft of the resolution because bond attorney Brian Monahan sent me a version, and I made some adjustments to it, sent it back, but didn't hear back from him at all until late Friday. Actually, not at all Friday. And I got a response on Monday today, and cleaned up the thing, and I posted a final version on the website, I think, and emailed it to the select board. So we do have a final version that he endorsed.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we validate the bond vote for the Pine Street water line.
Bond vote.
Bond vote. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you. And the next steps, by the way, I asked him what the next steps are, and he said, get financing. Either go to the bond bank or go to private institutions, search out the best interest rate. I'll check in with the Steve Palmer and the process we're going through there for the loan, through that for the construction loan. But anyway, that's it for the next steps, is get financing.
Perfect. I'll sign that tomorrow.
Yeah, it's on the table. Yeah, in a green folder.
Also, 3 of us have signed it.
Oh, super.
Just sign for me. It'll be all right. Item 2, grant authorization request 2023 Growing Urban Forests in the Face of Emerald Ash Borer / Caring for Canopies Grant, Bristol Ad Hoc Tree Committee, and the town administrator. And I think that's why John Swepston's here.
I assume so.
I'm guessing there's a tree in the title, so I'm guessing that's why he's here. Come on.
I'll just quickly clarify that it wasn't clear which program they might be interested in applying for. It turns out they're primarily interested in the Caring for Canopies grant application of up to $5,000. It's a 50-50 match, so the project would need to be $10,000 or whatever it is. It's 50% match, which they propose either in kind, time, volunteer, whatever services. Being that John is a professional arborist, some of his professional services might be able to be volunteered if we document it appropriately. And they may be asking for an allocation of the A. Johnson endowment fund from the proceeds of the endowment fund, which are right now are a little over $4,500.
So we should be okay, because the most we can apply for is 5,000. Or the most, we can apply for 10. The most we can get from them is 5.
Correct.
It's from the A. Johnson, is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
When Andy passed away, he stowed 2 times to $100,000,
Right.
or maybe a little more. And we put it in an interest-bearing account. I wouldn't touch it for trees and things of that nature.
Okay.
So we could take the interest out of that.
So about the A. Johnson Fund has $4,500 that we can access?
Correct. Oh, I believe so. Anthony's here and can perhaps explain the logistics of actually withdrawing funds, because the principal's in a CD but I'm not sure the status of that 45. How do you access that $4,500?
Yeah, I've got to review the paperwork again and call them just to make sure. But yes, that's what we have access to. The $100,000 is secured. And yeah, I had spoken to Valerie. Our next bank statement actually we'll get in the next 25 days. So it might even be a little bit more than that. But
not much.
no, not, we're talking dollars.
It earns about $40 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interest.
Wow.
But
Well,
yeah,
that's
just
gonna
to make
change.
sure
That's
I'll
gonna change.
reach out.
Interest rates are-
Okay.
Interest rates are 5% now.
Yeah.
Valerie,
Anthony, is that the one at M&T?
No, that's at it's at North
Country.
Oh,
North
North
Country.
Country, that one. Okay.
It's the smaller one, not
The
the
small-
not the
okay.
other one.
So Val and John, I have a question. You say planting street trees in the public rights of way in the village maintenance. Is that, I mean, like when we take a tree out, you're replacing one, or you're just putting trees in that public right of way without, or anywhere? Or do you have a specific plan?
Well, I've been asking that question also of what the group, it's an ad hoc tree committee that came together to work on these kinds of things. And there are planning documents, one from a tree inventory and plan from 2015, 2014, and of course the Emerald Ash Borer plan. So there are guidances there. So it really boils down to what are they proposing in the application. And the application is due this month.
The 30th. Yeah, the 30th of December. Let's do it.
So John, what are your thoughts on this?
To answer your question, it's both. It's to replace,
Ones that we've
taking a
taken
step
out.
back. I wouldn't say there's a ton of community commentary, but I do get a lot of comments. People see trees get cut down, but they don't see trees get planted. And it's sort of common because trees decline and decay and they become hazardous, and so there hasn't been sort of
Replacement.
one-for-one replacement.
Right.
But what we're thinking, this ad hoc committee that we have, it's going to be, depending on the amount of funding we get, it's going to be sort of a mass planting. And there's 3 of us on the committee. I guess maybe Valerie's the 4th. It's not open to the community. It's me and Chris Urban and this guy Josh,
And a couple other people, a few other people.
Right. And so we're all the professional eye of knowing what goes where or what should go where. So we'll eventually have a plan of places in Bristol, particularly, actually, I think only in the village, that are going to receive new trees.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we'll go and plant trees, and we won't plant trees exactly where others have been removed, but we'll probably plant them nearby, So it's a mix of both of those.
Okay.
And I've encouraged them to coordinate with Eric regarding underground pipes and other utilities that might either be in the way directly or through route interaction.
Right.
And also not near intersections, correct?
Yeah.
So when you stop at the stop sign, you look up.
Exactly.
I'm gonna put one right there.
I know.
So
It has to be.
that little round tree does get big.
I know.
We hope it does.
I know, the right tree, right place. The whole thing that's going to guide this whole project is the right tree in the right place. You don't plant a giant oak tree right underneath the power line. You don't put some big bushy crabapple right in a stop sign. So the idea is that we're going to be really diligent about the right tree in the right place.
So this up to 10 grand is just for planting trees, not taking. You said a little
I
bit
would advocate for maintenance too.
Yeah.
You said something about cutting some down or replacing a tree if we take one down. And then you talked about in kind. Could in kind be that some of that our road department digs the spot where the tree is? We're going to go. I know
Possibly.
we were a village years ago. The village department used to go around plant trees.
Anything we do that
Or should we just
generates a cost can be in-kind services.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Right. I think the idea that I see is to use the grant money to hire a local person who has local trees, and that local person will plant the trees with some community involvement. So if there's volunteering, meaning we're probably not going to be planting big, huge trees. The idea is not to plant like 20-foot tall, they're going to be smallish type trees. So this person who's planting them can do it himself and cheaply and easily. And so we have a budget for that we're working on for the grant. And to go back to what Valerie said about maintenance, I guess we could communicate about that, because me and Josh and Chris's idea was the whole kit and caboodle goes for tree planting and then the maintenance of those trees. I don't know if that's what you meant, Valerie. Maintenance
of those trees.
Of the newly planted. Okay, so yes, so that's
watering, some selective pruning, perhaps in the second year.
Yeah, exactly. So that's built into what we're going to write that into the grant.
Okay.
But it's just for
good to
the
me.
trees we're getting, nothing on existing trees.
No, nothing.
I know
existing.
$10,000 not going to get you a lot of trees. So I think that's probably the best route to go.
Okay.
Yeah, for a $5,000 grant, it won't go very far.
Yeah.
No.
I went out and asked Sharon, she just brought it into me, and I don't want to speak for Eric, but he's had an $8,000 budget for trees, general tree work, and he has spent $3,800 so far.
His tree work is usually cutting down.
Dead trees everywhere.
Right, everywhere.
We're not touching that money.
You're not going to touch and try to get 10 grand.
And I don't think
we got 4,500 in the A. Johnson.
Right.
So
but another 500 gets us another 500 for free. That's what I'm saying, Pete. It's an extra $1,000 if we took 500.
But we can get, I'm sure we can get $500 of in kind.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
I don't know that the project to trim the upper levels of the trees has that been finished?
It looks like it has.
The trimming of the upper limbs over the road?
No, because that's not in here.
Right, so that's next.
He said he had talked to sergeants or somebody about that.
Right, so that hasn't happened yet. So that'll be a penny or two.
Yeah, that's a big chunk of change. What I heard what that's going to cost. So
yeah, and just as Eric and I are planning to, if I'm around, are planning to discuss during budget time, suggesting a line item for tree planting. Their line says tree maintenance, I think, but maybe a specific line item for tree planting. Or I had suggested a while back a new reserve fund for trees, just tree whatever, but a new reserve fund for trees, so that we can continue to build up a fund for tree work.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever happened. We did have a line just for planting. And I don't know.
That at one point, wasn't that in the Park and Recs budget?
Yeah,
all right, so let's make a note about that and look at that as we start to go through the budget.
Right.
But I do think that's Val. I think the reserve fund is an interesting idea for the trees, or at least, like Peter said, something specific for trees.
We do it for sidewalks.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this looks great.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay.
You might. I know what Peter was saying about $8 grand. Don't want to touch that because that's just. It just says general tree work. It doesn't say cutting of trees. And I know that's what we use it for mostly, because we don't plant many trees. But I was going back to John. What John says, people have been seeing that. We've been cutting them down, but we have never planted any. And for me, I don't want to take more than, if we can get. D'Anthony said there's $4,500 in there. To get an extra 1,000, take 500 from us, and the state's throwing another 500.
Like I said, the in kind will cover that 500 without any problem.
Okay, so we're still going to get the 5,000 from the state. That's what I don't want to give up.
Right.
No, we're going to go for the 5,000. We'll come up with the other 5,000.
I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure we're asking for the most.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion that we apply for the 2023 Growing Urban Forest
Second.
grant.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you,
John.
Thank you, John.
We got work, you guys. I have a couple of weeks.
Picture.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Item 3, park use application, Lumen, for Saturday, December 17th, 2022, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And
All same as last year?
correct.
Make a motion, we approve.
There is one slight adjustment that Meredith hung out here for, and Alicia, I think.
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
So we have Alicia Standridge. She is joining us this evening. She is the new executive director of Bristol Core. She was a former board member, and she is also a business owner on Main Street with Your Home, and a long-standing community member.
So you have a
now
motion
she's-
and a second, and we are in discussion.
Yeah, the
right.
reason why is because we are adding a food truck to the event.
Okay.
Don't forget it, I
Only
take
difference.
back my second.
Sorry.
No food.
Yeah, so
All right.
what I think it's called I forgot it's Rachel Kalatzker and her sister Leah, and it's called the Soulful Sisters, and we'll have the COI, the certificate of insurance, and we'll be setting them up just like how we do at the Harvest Festival on Park
Along the
Street.
back.
Yep. And so the pedestrians can be safe and under the light, and they can plug in on that telephone pole that's right there.
Are they local, Meredith?
Yeah, they are. It's very, very cool.
That's my main concern.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with them being there as long as they're local. And what's the other thing?
Well, that was it. I mean, just making sure the fire pits are, like, I know you guys usually ask about our fire plan.
I mean,
I assume your plan is the same.
Well, so it's a little bit different, and Alicia can speak to this too, but I'll speak to it as well, just since I've done it in the past. In the past, the event has worked with co-partnered with Tandem, and we've done fire pits and food on Main Street between the bank and the Rockwood block, but that's sort of changing. Tandem is no longer involved, and this is a Bristol Core endeavor, and so it'll be just the food on the park. Through the food truck, and then fire pits on the park. The ones that we normally use over on Main Street will just be on the park. And similar to other events, we've had fire extinguishers, and people will be there at all times. They're not going to be left alone. So that was the additional change.
And something to protect the grass, just like the nativity scene.
Correct. Yeah.
So Ian, in the past, as you said, they had them in between Tandem and the bank. They're not having it there, so they're not going to walk from the park down Main Street for the lights with the candles.
None of that. There will be the lantern making, and it'll be in person. Alicia, what's the final decision on that? Can you detail that for us?
A little of both. It's definitely going to be in person, but there will be kits to pick up at the library for people to take home if they're not able to make it to that or would rather not go.
Okay, so in person at Holly Hall, and then walking across to the park, but then there won't be the procession downtown, correct?
Okay, because last time we just said they're going to have a lighted candle. They can't go in any of the stores.
Correct, and we actually we didn't allow lighted candles. It was just like battery operated.
Battery operated.
So,
That's what we allowed, right?
Yeah, and it'll be the same for the lanterns this year. They'll just be battery operated. They're actually more fun for the kids to play with too.
And they don't get burnt.
All right.
So Michelle made a
motion
motion.
and a
Was there a second?
Oh, Peeker made the motion, I seconded it, I think.
Oh.
Okay. Any further discussion on this matter? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great event. All right. Continuing. Whew, where are we? Item 4. Preliminary review of the FY 2022 audit.
This is a revised version. I think the only substantive revision has to do with the landfill obligation. Myself and the auditors went back and forth about this a little bit, and Anthony and I looked through, or at least tried to look through the rest of the document and really didn't see any other changes. And I'm doubtful that we'll get into the meat of it tonight. But we at least wanted the select board to have it in your hands. Yeah, in your hands. Good segue, good point. During budget season.
You get, you come to a meeting.
So to have it in your hands during budget season, and also as you poke through it, consider whether you want to invite representatives from the audit company to come to a meeting at some point and go through it with everybody. I sat in at a Addison County Solid Waste Management District meeting, maybe 2 years ago, 2 or more years ago, where their auditor, which is the same as this one, by the way, RHR Smith, their auditor did come to a meeting and went through relevant portions of the document. And it was very useful. I thought they had a very useful discussion about it. So that's one reason why I make that suggestion, because I saw it happen. And it just might be useful if the select board's not particularly comfortable going through it, or maybe you are and we can be done with it. It all depends on what you're up for.
Well, personally, I'd like them to go through it because, usually all I do is read the report and see what they have to say because I don't understand.
Right.
This is beyond my scope.
Yeah, it's dense. It's pretty dense.
Yeah, I agree with Michelle. I think if we're able to invite them in to be able to go through it with us, I think that would be very useful.
Oh, good. We'll plan on that. We'll look forward to that.
Yeah, right. You probably do.
No.
I mean, Joel and Peker probably understand it from beginning
cover to cover.
So.
We understand this like IT stuff. We're right on the cusp of it all.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great, especially as we get into budget season. I think that would be very useful.
I don't know what their availability is between now and through January.
That's true.
What kind of time you'd want to allocate to a presentation. Chances are they can do it by Zoom, so it's not that big of an investment to actually come here and set up and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think if we encourage them to do it via Zoom, that's going to be much easier.
So maybe a half an hour presentation. And perhaps the next useful meeting would be the 19th, the next meeting on December 19th.
Okay.
If they're available. I'm not sure what else is on the agenda. I don't think
is that the one that I'll be making?
That's the one you're doing.
I think it's going to take an hour. I don't think 30 minutes is going to be enough.
Okay.
Well, I'm wondering if they could.
19th. Let's go ahead, Kyle.
No, I was just going to say, I wonder if they could send ahead of time like highlights of what we should be looking at.
Oh, yeah.
So that we would have something ahead of time to digest a little bit, because 108 pages.
Yeah. I'm wondering if the 19th is too early. I wonder if we shouldn't have you, Anthony, and maybe Peter with his background so many years here. Is there some series of questions that we'd like some answers to? I don't know. Like, why are we doing this? Do we need to do this? Or how could we make this better so we don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is our fund balance?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have it. I have the number for it, actually, after talking with Miranda multiple times. They don't use undesignated fund balance. They use unassigned.
Right.
That's the terminology they use.
That's fair.
And if anyone's curious, it's on Statement C, which is page 16. It's under General Fund. If you go to Fund Balances, it is the bottom one right before the total.
The number is
$348,186.
Unassigned. Yeah, I see it.
Oh yeah, unassigned. Okay, great.
But that includes our.
They also, one of their recommendations is that the select board, the town, maintain an undesignated fund balance of something like 5% of the.
I think I think it's higher than that because.
Yeah, higher than that. 6 months worth of. 3 months or 6 months worth of expenses or something.
That's our emergency fund.
Yeah, it's just according to the auditors, they'd like to see a higher percentage than 5, because the bare minimum when auditors look at your reporting and your statements and everything, what they're looking for in the eyes of the federal government is, can you guys operate? If something was to happen, would you guys be able to operate for 3 months minimum?
3 months.
Sure, we just borrow money. It's the American way.
If all the banks were closed.
Not for everybody.
Where do you see that on page 16?
Right here.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay,
All right,
so
well, let's
plan on an
yeah,
hour.
So Joel, you think so an hour, and Joel, you think maybe the 19th is too soon? We want to collect some ideas.
I'm going to pass it to Anthony. Do you think you can pick Peter's brain and say, Peter, you've seen a lot of these. Where do you think that we could improve? Or
I don't think Peter's had a chance to look it over.
Yeah,
what's the best?
He's read it twice. I mean, we've talked about it, but I don't think we've gone into the necessary depth that you're referring to, Joel, just because, like, I mean, I guess we speak accountant, so we're just like, oh, look at this and look at this verbiage. Because really the biggest change financially, according to this revision, is there's only about a difference of $29,000 because of the liability of the landfill. Other than that, it was just verbiage. So I can talk more
Anthony,
with.
the question might be is what is the best use of our time and their time at this meeting?
Well, yeah, that is true. Because 108 pages, not everyone speaks the same language. So I guess one of the biggest things we could have them do is touch upon what they think is the most important for the select board to know in order to make the most intelligent decisions moving forward in financial decision making, I suppose. I know that FY22's audit's going on right now. I haven't heard back from Miranda on a few items, but so I mean we'll see about that. Also, their scheduling. I know that they have a large clientele. So I don't know if it might be better that it's a ways out, but I can't really speak to their scheduling.
Yeah,
all right, well, let's find out. Let's ask some questions of them and see what we get back.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. But if you have looked it over now and you want to talk about it, now's the time.
I have not.
I mean, I suppose there's another thing we could also do as you guys go through it. If you want to make notes, we can either ask them that, or that can be what they're talking about during this hour-long discussion.
Good point.
If anyone's curious, if anyone's interested in that.
From the
Great if I
conversation we just
understood it.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, from the conversation we just had, I don't know that we know what to ask.
Right.
Sorry.
It's like overspent items, and I don't understand any of that. I mean, it's just a page I happen to look at, and I don't even have a clue where they get it from. So it's all Greek to me. Either you got money in your checkbook or you don't.
Right.
Well, if you overspend one line item in a budget, you may take it from somewhere else, but it's considered overspent when they're looking at the budget.
They did spend a lot of time with their narrative. I did notice that they go through a lot of explanation in the language, the reporting prior to the tables of explaining this and explaining that. So I did see that, and I did find some of that helpful if you can keep up with it.
To be honest, I have not read it, so that'll be my job before we.
And to be honest, it is highly recommended that select board members become familiar with the audit document, because it is an important tool if you can understand it, for management of the municipality and finances and budgeting and things like that.
But Anthony, didn't at one time we have to keep track of how many shovels we own and how many of this we had, how many chainsaws?
Oh, the inventory.
The inventory, we don't keep an inventory anymore. What they focus on now in regards to fixed assets is they consult our policy. We have X amount of years for X amount of items, and there's a certain dollar threshold that we need to hit for certain things to be considered reporting. For example, just out of context, school systems have a whole range of computers. If a computer is over X amount of dollars, it's on their fixed asset list or inventory. So they really focused on the federal mandate for how you report certain things in X amount of years. But also our own policies as well.
I think what Jill also might be referring to is for the insurance policies, to evaluate the property owned day-to-day operational property for insurance coverage. And it was highly recommended that departments take an inventory of all their stuff, all their chairs, all their filing cabinets, all their computers, all that stuff, and make a list of it. And when you sell it or get rid of it, make a note of it. When you get a new one, make a note of it, and just keep track of the inventory for insurance purposes, loss.
Yeah. A perfect example is Pigger knows. Last winter, was it Pigger? Charlotte lost their whole town garage one Sunday afternoon.
Right.
Trucks and all.
Right.
What if that happens to us and they say, give us an inventory of what you had over there?
I can tell you what we have for trucks.
Right,
keep track of that.
We can keep track of all the fixed assets. So really anything over like trucks, vehicles, anything like that.
For insurance, it's different.
But for insurance, it'd be
Yes.
the inventory of everything you had. That's not a fixed asset.
And I did talk with VLCT about this when we were talking about insurance coverage, the policies and what they valued things at. And Vicki explained that they have a different coverage. When we were concerned about the building contents not being adequately reflecting the contents of the vehicles, she said, well, there's a separate coverage for the vehicles. And so that was an explanation for that.
But I don't want to find out that, God forbid something happens to the town garage or any building that we own. And you know what? You only got that insured for about 20% what it's going to cost to replace it.
Right.
Do we have the building replacement cost?
Well, that's what we were talking about a few weeks ago.
We're getting off there, so, but those are a couple of questions I'd want to ask, also about this audit.
Yeah, the auditor wouldn't be able to answer those kinds of questions, as those are for our insurance coverage.
You can see I spent the day with the insurance adjuster today, went around all our branches and inspected every furnace, so.
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah, I spent the day with it, traveling. Okay.
That seems like something that we should have. We should have an inventory, a decent inventory of all of town buildings, and make sure that our insurance is in line with what's in those buildings.
Yeah. I know the Public Works was doing it for a while, and I know that Recreation has been doing it, and
okay.
I think they're pretty up to date. I'm not sure so much other areas.
What about the town offices? Do we know what's in there?
Nobody's actually requested that we write everything down here. We know we have printers, computers, and that kind of stuff. But
yeah. Okay.
Right. I did talk about it with Jen a long time ago, but I'm not sure where that went.
Okay. Well, let's revisit that, and let's see if we can just get an official handle on where we are with that in terms of town garage. I know that the fire department's probably got a full inventory. If we can get the detail that the fire department has, that would be pretty nice. But it takes organization, and it takes a plan to be able to do that. And maybe Brett and Co. would be able to help us. I know that they run their own system for that, but it seems like it's an incredibly useful tool for them. And it seems like we should maybe be looking at a similar path. Any further discussion on this item in terms of the audit? Any other questions, concerns people have, or should we move on? Let's move on. Item 5, consider add and job description for select board minute taker / board clerk for advertisement.
Yes. Hopefully folks had a chance to glance at the draft ad and job description for recording secretary for the select board. As I mentioned in my notes, when Sharon originally offered to do it, conditions were slightly different than they are now, and rather different actually than they are now. And it's been a challenge to keep up with. So as we know, so this proposal is to advertise for a separate person to do that at $20 an hour.
Yep, I think both look good, the ad and the position. Was it a similar ad to what we used for the development review board? I know that was a
I believe so.
position.
Yeah,
Okay.
in fact, I just changed the names.
Okay, great.
Not quite. A little bit more thought
Right.
than that, but
Yep, I think this is excellent.
Need a
questions,
motion to
comments from the board?
advertise?
yeah, authorization to move forward. Yeah.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. Super.
All right.
Okay.
Now we're into the meaty one.
Yes, item 6, consider updates to the policies and application requirement for the Bristol Revolving Loan Fund.
Yes. Hopefully folks had a chance to glance at these draft documents. There are 3 altogether. The fund guidelines, the revolving loan information for applicants, and revolving loan fund checklist. The revisions to these documents began in 2021. COVID got in the way, other things got in the way, and they didn't move forward. And we know that that there may be renewed interest in applicants coming to the revolving loan fund, not only for business ventures, but also disaster recovery and related things. And the current application guidelines and application documents, the application itself and the checklist are really out of date. And this was an effort to try to begin to bring them up to date. There is still a lot of language that is a little awkward in today's situation. So there's a lot to cover here. I'm really not sure where to start, quite honestly, and so I'm totally open to ideas.
You said there were 3 documents. There are only 2 available on the website.
Oh.
The loan fund guidelines was there and the loan fund checklist, but the third one with regard to the applicants, I don't see that listed.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure that I had everything. I didn't miss it, but I don't see
There's
it
not
there.
that much. Actually, there's really not that much going on that one. I'll send it around separately, but there's not a lot of activity in terms of recommended revisions.
Okay.
Yeah.
The link is available on the TA report.
Oh, it is. Okay, great.
Yeah.
It just wasn't put on there. Okay, perfect. I'll look at that.
Thank you, Darla.
Okay.
I knew it was somewhere.
And the comments on these, is that from Michelle? Is that correct?
Mostly from Michelle. Yeah. And
Fred did the first round of
Okay.
comments. So most of the red line he did, and I made comments to his red line.
Okay.
I mean, but between the
When
two
did
of
you
us.
when did you make those comments? Is this a recent thing, or was this
no,
back?
2021.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little dusty, for sure.
Application.
But this is an effort to try to move things forward.
I'd really like to get Anthony and probably Sharon's input on this if they've got any, since they deal with this stuff too.
Right.
I mean, because once it leaves our hands, it's kind of on them.
As I mentioned in my notes, I'm not sure if or when it was provided. I think it was provided to them for a review, but I know that both of them have had their hands quite full. And even
I
if
know
it
it was
was
given to Jen Val initially.
Oh,
So I
and
don't
Sharon
know.
at that time. Yeah, both at the same time, but that was then.
Right.
And I think maybe a follow-up after Anthony came on board, but I can't swear to that. I can swear, but not to that. Nobody got that.
I
No,
got
it was
it.
good.
Yeah.
It was subtle. It was good.
Too subtle.
So what do we want to do? We want to just go through? Let's go through the revolving loan fund checklist, and maybe look at. We've got Michelle's comments here. So last updated July 19th, 2017. Looking at this now, is there anything else that we need to comment on?
You guys want to put that up on the screen?
Oh, there's an idea.
Yeah.
I'd like to at least, I mean, Michelle asked about one of the things hadn't paid, and Nancy said since May, but I don't think we've seen the list since May.
Yeah, it's online. It's been,
Oh,
quarter goes online.
It's
so
part of the
check it.
other business correspondence and reports.
Okay.
The May one, I think there was refinancing involved. The last time I spoke with Anthony about that, I think that was one of the reasons, and maybe something happened because that payment was up to date or had been paid off normally. So I think it was just.
Val, I have that document up on my screen if you want me to share it, if it's easier.
No, I just got it. I had to find it.
Sorry.
No problem. Can folks see that?
Yep.
I mean, some of the stuff I'm hoping in today's world that, and depending on the applicant and the nature of the application, that some things can be streamlined. For example, perhaps folks coming in for natural disaster support might not need or have all of the stuff we're asking for in the checklist or in some of the application material. I don't know that we can go through all of that tonight, but just my thought to keep in mind.
Val, what do you mean by bullet number 2? If you are loaning money, means that whether the loan fund is loaning the money to buy the equipment?
This is the revolving loan funds checklist. So this is what they go through when somebody comes in to loan money. So it says if the revolving loan fund is loaning money for the purchase of equipment, then part of our decision says you need to provide us with proof of, blah, blah, blah. So these
Should
are
it say
the
loaning
requirements.
or receiving money for purchase? We're the loanee.
Right, but this is this checklist is for the revolving loan fund to say, okay, we need to take detailed minutes outlining the terms of the loan. This is one of our checklists.
Okay.
And then the next thing.
It's an internal checklist.
Right, if we're loaning money to this person for purchase of equipment, then one of the requirements is we need to have proof of that purchase. You know, if we're requiring the business stay in Bristol, or pay back the loan in full, then that has to be discussed and put in the minutes or the decision of the revolving loan fund as part of their terms. So this is just really our internal checklist to what we're doing.
What if that piece of equipment was sold before it was paid off? Is there any, I haven't seen it yet, I'm trying to read it down through there. It just says if we're gonna loan money for a piece of equipment, they have to have the serial number. So Peter buys a piece of a $100,000 loader and it doesn't work out and he sells it, does he have to take that money and pay the loan off?
Wouldn't we have to file a UCC to do that? If we're not gonna make it collateral?
I don't mean to pick on Peter, he doesn't borrow that, but I'm just using him as an example.
I mean, for any
You ain't get
assets,
much
we
for a
would
loader.
file a
No,
UCC.
no.
So in order for them to sell that, they would have to have that UCC discharged if we do that.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well, I think in terms of this particular document, I know it's an internal checklist, but I'd like to see it on town letterhead and things like that. And I do think,
Right.
to Joel's point, I do think it should be written so we can understand that it's from the revolving loan fund's point of view. Like, I think anyone should be able to pick this up and understand what those questions mean. And if Joel's questioning or trying to understand, then obviously I think it could be improved and written better. I think the content is good. I think just the nature of how it's written needs to be improved.
That's true for, I think all of the documents.
Yeah, exactly.
Which were originally drafted in the 1990s.
I was gonna say, you gotta remember when this was originally drafted.
Right. And then language reflects that. And perhaps the economic times of then also are reflected in those documents. And times have changed since then.
So given that, who would, is it up to the select board to rewrite this? Can we receive help from VLCT or other organizations that deal with these kind of funds? I mean, to be able to modernize this?
Good question.
How much red tape do you want?
I mean, Fred Besser made a start with the other documents.
I think that's why this is the way it is because the town, when they had that grant initially, they had to come up with some kind of policies.
Right.
From probably the state, is my guess. So
well, they're actually federal because they were federal UDAG monies, urban development, something grant. And back in the 1980s. So I think the town originally got the funds in 1984 when all the other towns in Vermont got UDAG money, grant money. And this was, it evolved into this revolving loan fund since then, in the 1990s. After there was a certain point in time, the UDAG funds became totally the towns. And I think that's in the 1990s when these documents were developed.
Yeah, I mean, I have to tell you, the only problem with having VLCT or somebody else look at this, which I guess I don't have a problem with, other than it's a time thing. We went through these in 21. Anytime somebody applies, we have to give them the old documents. So we're just trying to get these done and more up to date, and I don't mind having somebody looking at it. I just don't want to take 2 years to.
No, I completely understand.
Yeah, I'll put up the other one to really show to.
Let me ask the board the question. This general throw list out was, where did we go wrong with that document with the one we lost a $70,000 loan? We only got $18 paid and they went under. Where did we lose? How did we lose that?
We lost because we weren't first in line, and that's the way most of our loans are. Is that we're not first in line. We're not usually first in line because we usually require them to seek
exhausted all other
options.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he or she took their collateral, i.e. the cookies and all the stuff, and left town.
No, she didn't take it. Kevin got it.
Well, yeah.
But she
I wasn't
left
going to
town.
say name,
Right.
but yeah. I mean, the only time we're seem to be ever first in line is real estate, because we hold the tax bill. We hold the tax bill.
Or unless the borrower doesn't have any other money, other funding in the project.
Right. Like we have one that we're first.
Yeah.
And currently, correct me if I'm wrong, currently, even though the funding can be used for home improvement, disaster recovery, that kind of thing, in the last few years, it's been in business, correct?
Well,
Correct.
Actually, the previous things didn't really specify disaster recovery and weatherization, renewable energy. It just said renovations, and it was
Well, it talks about oh gosh, where did I see it? Home.
Well, now we put in new wording for that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a newer edition.
Okay, maybe I'm looking at the newer one because I thought originally it said something about
housing rehab is really what I think is what it said, housing rehab.
Right, but it said something about low to moderate income families and helping with housing, and there was a lot of talk about affordable housing in there.
That's fairly standard. I don't know if that's new.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. But currently we haven't made a lot of loans in
Right
that.
there, number 1, it says rehab of either owner or non-owner occupied housing units that will meet the housing needs of low to moderate income people.
Right. But what I'm saying is we haven't really used this loan for that very much, correct? It's been more business loans.
Right. And one reason for that is
Correct.
because there are so many other pots of money now.
Right.
CDBG, Vermont Housing Finance Agency, and other programs that
So-
perhaps are more desirable.
Is that
Understood.
eligible activities right there below that? Does that contradict what we just read in the first document where it said it has to create jobs? So I want to borrow $10,000, put a new heating plant in my house and put new windows in. But it doesn't create jobs.
Somebody's got to put it in.
Well, I guess to some extent.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it says such projects will include but not be limited to. So there's, you know,
Right.
we're giving examples. I mean, it's not like it's restricting.
You're right. It's not limited to these activities. Okay.
So regarding that, so with the rehabilitation of housing units or to aid disaster recovery, I mean, I guess each application is sort of on a custom basis, and we've never really discussed like what percentages of interest would be. You know, are we thinking that those for something like number 1 and number 4, or number 4, is that something that we would change that interest rate versus doing a business loan? How is that ever handled? I guess maybe we don't know because we haven't really used the loan for that.
Well, and the revolving loan fund usually determines that because there's a description of how you determine the interest in this document.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think the revolving loan committee has used their judgment based upon the facts of the application and then made a recommendation to the select board. I think in the last loan application, the committee made one recommendation and the select board, I think, went a little bit lower than what they recommended in terms of interest.
Oh,
rate.
yes, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice of us.
As long as they pay the bill.
Right, and understanding this, it's still a loan, whether it's for, item 4, funding to victims of local disasters, i.e. fire, flooding, wind damage, for the purpose of recovery. It's still a loan to be able to assist someone versus, the business side where it's you're sort of more used to taking loans to if you're starting a new business versus, repairing your house or something like that.
Right, remodeling.
Yeah, exactly.
I think throughout this document, Michelle's comments are very helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So the select board has printed or not. I keep getting confused sometimes that we don't do printed packets anymore. But anyway, this is available on the website to be able to be printed.
A lot of talk about the town and village in here.
Right.
Yeah.
And then this CDAB, the Community Development Advisory Board, that's a question to talk about. Right now, the Revolving Loan Fund Committee just reviews applications. There is no actual Community Development Advisory Board that has any other role than that, than reviewing applications. I think this contemplated that they would have a larger role in the that maybe they did more than just review applications. Maybe they actually, I don't know, made community development plans of some sort. I could be
I
wrong.
don't think they ever did.
Yeah.
Wait, did we have a CDAB?
It's the revolving loan fund committee. And if we only want a committee to review loan applications, then that's what that should be. And we should rename it to the revolving loan fund committee.
Okay. Do you have, Val, editable versions of these documents?
At first, I thought you said edible.
I thought he did too.
I really like to digest these if I could.
I know they're really difficult to digest.
Are you? I know. Are you able to share those with us so we could add some comments in?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have the word versions.
Yeah. Yes, I figured you did. So yeah, if you're able to share the Word versions,
that's a good
just to
suggestion.
the board, and then we can make the comments.
Yeah.
Even things like that, the Community Development Advisory Board, like just removing that and calling it the revolving loan fund, or I mean, the opposite of that, or another way of looking at that is, do we want a Community Development Advisory Board that would expand and do other things for the community?
Right.
Would that be useful to have? I know it's starting another committee, and I sort of loathe to do that because it's difficult to start committees. But
yeah, I'll wait till after the. Do you want that to be shared now or after the meeting, or?
I think after the meeting is fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just so we can go through. I think that might be easier to just sort of have us sort of look through the documents, give us a little bit more time, and then, as Michelle did back then, sort of submit comments, and then perhaps the next meeting we can sort of take a look and just go and maybe have it with our Fred's adjustments removed, so it's a little bit tighter and we can sort of read through it a little bit easier.
Okay. Yeah.
It makes me think of if we did have a CDAB. I'm sorry, I'm backtracking a little bit, but wondering if that would help eliminate some of the confusion or some of the issues we've had with some of the building projects that have come up in town, and wondering how that would dovetail with the town plan. And could it be a committee that supported the zoning administrator and also had the vision of the town plan there? Am I creating a hornet's nest that nobody wants? I see Peter's rubbing his head. Peter's rubbing his head already. Okay.
I can tell you that the members that are on this board, if you do that, they probably won't be on this board.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm just wondering is it this board? Is it this group? Or do we keep them as the loan review committee, and is CDAB something else completely? I'm spitballing. I'm just wondering if it would eliminate any of the issues that have come up recently.
I just think that this has been the revolving loan fund committee, that all they've done really is.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just wondering if there is a place for this other
I don't know.
committee that was at one time thought to be part of this group.
Okay.
Yeah, well, my gut reaction is no.
Okay.
Yeah.
There might have been a time, but
okay.
And there might be a time yet, but yeah, it looks as though their primary purpose was to review loans and issue reports and recommendations.
So I guess the change would be to just any mention of CDAB would just be, we would change that to revolving loan fund committee.
Revolving loan fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this also provides for a pretty detailed structure. And I think that it flows through to today's group. There's regular appointments. Whether they do regular reporting, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the only reporting they do is when we have a new loan, but I mean, they're supposed to be the people are supposed to be appointed every year, and we haven't been reappointed. We just stay on.
No, I think you have been. In March after town meeting, there's the annual reappointment of people.
They listed on there? I couldn't remember.
Yeah. Actually, is terms. I don't think this includes terms.
Yeah, I think it says they'll just be reappointed every year. Or they'll be appointed every year somewhere.
Yeah, I thought I said 2 years or something like that.
Oh.
Somewhere in there. All right. Thank you for your service, Michelle.
Then the rest of the document, it just goes about through.
It does deal. It does talk about Penalties. Late charge of 5% may be assessed for any late payment of 10 days or more. Loans may be prepaid at any time without penalty. And then delinquent accounts. A loan shall be considered delinquent in collection efforts instituted by the town for any loan delinquent for more than 45 days, 45 days or more. So we're running into that with our current status on a number of accounts.
I mean, if you guys wanted, you could add in the fact that I could be the one to reach out, and like that would give me the ability to do that and not have to ask permission to do that. If you guys are interested in something like that.
Yeah, I don't think you would need permission. And as I noted in my notes, that one recommendation we have is that the treasurer's office be the main administrative point of contact for the applicants and actually for the loan committee members themselves. But in prior practice, for all these years, loan applicants were directed directly to Fred Baser to communicate the application process and all that stuff and coordinate the meeting times and place. And I Jen and I agreed that really should be an administrative function, and applicants should not be contacting the chair of the committee at all.
Right.
At all. We used to do that for Fred. I used to schedule the meetings for Fred.
Oh, my apologies. My bad.
So it wasn't like he did all of that. And I know that we were always the in between for the bank and trying to keep track of who has paid and who hasn't. And
Right.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharon, for that.
Yeah, because I used to copy the documents and send them out to the committee.
Yep. And Fred would do the minutes. And so
he might handwrite them and send them to me to type. He's getting better about typing, but
yeah. So perhaps also in the future, I don't know if a member of the committee would always be responsible for doing the minutes, but I think it would be more appropriate for committee members to be fully engaged in the discussion, and that perhaps administrative support could help with the minutes. So I don't know if you want to have me keep scrolling through this.
No, I think you need to give them time to make their comments.
Need to do what?
Let them go through look at it and go through and make their own comments.
Yep. Okay. And here we get into the application structure, and I think it goes on with.
Maybe before we read it, Valerie, you could at least somewhat clean it up. Like take all the select joint board, just all the CDAB out, put revolving loan fund there. Take
sure.
Well, I think you have to leave that in there for now. I mean, you could take it hit the redlining that he put in there. I think he did it by redline. I don't know, Val. I don't remember if we can take out the redlining, but you have to be careful because otherwise you'll lose my comments.
Right. I can pick and choose, but yeah. So yeah, this gives you an idea of the scope of the document, and let's see what's this next thing? Program guidelines, underwriting guidelines.
This is bedtime reading, I can tell you. You can't get to sleep.
Rehabilitation guidelines. Yeah, this is so dated.
Sorry, Ian. It took me a long time to go through this and make my comments and changes.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I can imagine. Well, one thing I was looking at the information for applicants. Now, if I'm an applicant,
and can I tell you that point system? Since the bedtime I've been on that, we have not used that point system. I mean, we just talk about the application, what was given, the plans, I just.
Will it work? Won't it work? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I saw that and I went, that's interesting. That point system.
I mean, I'm not saying they haven't used it in the past, but
Right.
Since I've been on, we haven't.
I mean,
used the system.
do you think we need to keep it in?
I guess that's a question for Fred, because I've never used it, so I have no
Okay.
idea how they used it.
I'm not aware that it's ever been used in the last 5 years.
But
Sounds
would
like
that
sounds
be-
like a no to me.
Yeah, but would that, before you kick it out, could that be last resort? You agree to the points and you haven't paid in
It's your
18 months,
tiebreaker.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and said, we've got to assess the points.
Well, now the points.
Not that we've used
Well,
it.
the
but-
points are
No, the
beforehand.
points were
though.
to issue of points of, okay, they've met this criteria, it's point 1 through
Okay.
9,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, so
and
you're trying to
after
make a
70,
criteria.
then if they're in a
Okay.
70 to 100 range, then we loan them that money. If it's below that, then maybe we don't, that type of thing.
Sweetie.
Yeah.
Looking at the information for applicants, so I've always been told that this is sort of like a not last resort, the revolving loan fund, but sort of the last thing that you would look at. So if you're a business, you're looking at bank loans before this. Is that still the same if it's for emergency funding or for natural disaster relief, or if something's happened to someone's house that it's burned or their garage or whatever just recently, let's say, would this be a first point of call in terms of the revolving loan fund, or are they looking at other things first? I mean, I guess insurance would be the first, depending on what's happened. But when would an applicant be considered, or when should an applicant come forward to use these funds for something other than the business?
It's typically the source of last resort. At least that's
Okay.
what the intent is. But I don't know how. I
Is
don't
that
know
stated in
from-
here in terms of the information for applicants?
Yeah,
Like, do you
I thought
tell them
there was a thought that says you must have applied or
show evidence of denial from previous or prior commercial lenders or something.
Okay.
Well,
But in
in the case
residential,
of
you're not going to get that.
right. Well, in the case of an emergency or something or a disaster, there's often like zero interest, or grants that are given. So this, if you're looking at a loan that has interest, that would definitely be your last
Right.
resort.
Right. Yeah, I just want to make it clear because I think maybe it's not clear or it's not clear to me.
Mhm.
Well, and that's where it's good for you guys to look at this because, when we're in it and we're used to doing something, you don't always catch things
See
that
it,
don't make
right.
sense.
Right.
Yeah, and again, it's just the wording and the writing of it to make it just understandable at any kind of level.
And as Michelle points out, the affordable housing metrics are quite old in these documents.
And does this document have a way of, we all know 2 years ago, the interest rate was around 3.5%. Now it's at 6.5, 7. Do we reflect that?
Yeah, there's a thing in there about it's 2% above the
Average rate?
whatever it is. I can't remember the
Okay.
T-bill. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't remember
Well,
what
in
it is, but
for the
it's in there.
application for the applicant, it says interest rates will be set on a competitive basis based on a project of the type being financed, depending on the needs of the project. So not a lot of detail there. So, but not locking us into any kind of percentage.
One of the things I saw in there that would bother me a little bit was said about remodeling a home. I say remodeling a home and getting it weather tight and things is completely different. If you got a couple that's low income and they need windows and drafts and they got all that in a very poor, that's to me is a loanable solution. But you got a house that, you know what, we just want to spruce it up.
Remodel our kitchen.
But would remodeling also come under, like, if you needed a ramp or you needed to make modifications to your home for someone that
Well, I think that's
needed
different, Darla.
accessibility?
That's a very good point.
But how would you word that, I guess, is my question.
My remodeling would be, well, we just want to put all
A new
new fixtures in. Yeah,
Yeah.
new kitchen, new bathroom. Everything's fine and the house is tight and everything. And we could take a money away that a house that's drafty windows and no insulation in it and they're spending $1,000 a month on heat. They could. That's where I look at that.
I mean, I have a hard time with that because to me, this is not for that. But I thought the initial remodeling of the house was for apartments, low-income housing to make it so that people could live there. But I always had a problem with that wording in here.
I mean, you could always use the term
It's called
weatherization.
rehab, not remodeling.
Right.
I mean, don't call it remodeling, call it weatherization.
Or accessibility.
Because
I think Fred put that in there, but for what he says, it says for rehabilitation of housing units and storefronts. So I think they use the word rehab, not remodeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and it's rehabilitation of housing. This is in the information for applicants. Rehabilitation of housing units and storefronts. The two main goals of the fund are to expand Bristol's ability to meet the employment and housing needs of its low and moderate income residents, and to correct urgent threats to health and welfare in the community. And then it sort of details, help businesses create or maintain jobs in Bristol, especially for low and moderate income people, to rehabilitate, again, housing units that are either owned or occupied by people with low or moderate incomes, to make needed improvements to public facilities, and then to assist property owners, which I guess is a new addition, with disaster recovery, fire, flooding, wind, ice, etc. So yeah, the remodeling, but I think Jill's right. We need to make sure that remodeling isn't in there. And even if someone came to the board, it would still have to go before the committee, and if someone's coming in and saying they'd like to remodel their kitchen, I think you'd have to have a darn good reason why you were doing that and how it was demonstrated that it was something that was covered under this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The low and moderate income section right underneath it. The median income in Addison County at this point in time, based on what the state uses for all of its assistance programs in regards to the ARPA funds, is $95,000 to $98,000. So I guess
that's pretty crazy. That's a huge change.
That is a huge change. That's the median. So you're probably looking closer to between $40,000 and $50,000 for a family of four, or maybe even less than that, maybe even more than that. But I don't know what model you guys are thinking of using for, are we going poverty rate? Are you going 200% above, just like how most of the state programs work?
Maybe that's something, Anthony, you and I should think about and make a proposal.
Yeah, okay. A recommendation would be great.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So in terms of sharing this document, can you do it, Val? You're able to do it through the SharePoint or whatever the heck we use, so we can get multiple people commenting, because it seems like Anthony can throw some comments in here, as can select board members. That's going to be the most useful, because then we can get everything on the same page.
Yes, literally.
Even that, making sure that it's we need to update that 1991 from 32 to now 2022 to 90, whatever it was.
Right.
And then
Absolutely.
and then low and moderate household incomes ranging from 18,250 or below for a one-person household to 30,000 for a six-person. I mean, those are going to be much higher now.
Vastly different. Yeah.
Financing.
All right.
Okay. All right, so let's begin there. Well, not begin there, but let's continue in terms of the making comments, so we can all get in there and make comments. And if it's the SharePoint and you're logged in or you're anonymous, just make sure you put your name or initials in if you're doing the comment.
Okay.
Initials would be handy.
Yeah, and people can also print and write comments too. I don't want to limit the select board's ability to comment on this document.
Right. And the documents, all three documents, I guess not on the website yet. The checklist isn't, but they are accessible through the TA report.
Yeah, two are on the website, and I can add the other one on there.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
No problem. All right, let's. Should we move on?
That'd be great.
Okay, item 7, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funding update.
Well, I did attend the meeting, and the committee focused a lot on prioritizing. They developed a tier 1 and a tier 2 list of projects based upon the number of votes, the number of times particular items were mentioned by the public and by others in the list, I guess. can't fully explain it. The tier 1 got the more votes, and then the tier 2 got the fewer votes, but still got votes. And now they're trying to prioritize. They're trying to assess, because a lot of the recommendations or suggestions don't have dollar figures attached to them.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to go through a process of how to make a recommendation with a dollar figure attached. And an example that came up was there was a lot of discussion about the social services position that's highly recommended, either to be housed in the police department or elsewhere, but accessible to the police department. How would that be funded? I mean, if funded with ARPA funding and the position's not filled right away, what happens to that ARPA funding? And I think we talked about before, there's actually a person kind of waiting in the wings for the position to be created because there might be immediate interest. But for the grant writer position, as another example, whatever figure is allocated or decided for that position might not get filled for a while. And what happens to those ARPA funds if those don't get completely spent by the December 2024 date? And other figures that don't have, or other proposals that don't have figures like childcare, affordable housing, or some other really useful proposals, but don't have dollar figures. And so just trying to sort through and what other good ideas have some other sources of funding available to them. So they're going through those exercises right now. They're still, I wouldn't say taking their time, but they know that they have a little bit more time to go through this stuff and refine the process that they're using before coming up with a proposal for the select board.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very focused on childcare at the moment. Try to improve childcare services, but not sure how to assign a dollar figure to some of these things.
No, I mean, and some of those. I mean, I took the survey asking the committee, though I'm not part of the committee. I took the survey anyway, just because it was interesting to see. And I mean, some of the things that were in the top 10 list, some of them we already have. Some of them we're going to be getting. So those, I almost feel those can be immediately removed from the list. You know, one of them was bus shelters, and we know that we have 3 that might be coming to us. We also have the electric vehicle charging, stations, possible grant money for there, which might need a match. And so obviously that would be ARPA funds, but in a much smaller amount than what we need. And there were other things too that I saw on the list that we already have or we're in the process of getting outside of ARPA. So I think that we can start to expand that list. And it seems like that tier 2 is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. You're talking about daycare, and I happen to see the email or something that came in from somebody asking about, I guess it was Willowwell, asking about funding.
Yep.
Is there going to be some kind of like checks and balance to make sure they use the money for what they're supposed to be using it for, or is it once they get the money, then it's theirs to do whatever they want with it?
No, there's checks and balances, right?
No, there's checks and balances. With ARPA funding, if we have the money, whatever we do with it, if people are asking it for something and they do a separate project, we are under obligation still that they report everything that they are doing with that funding. So they need to provide every single thing that we would need to provide in order to use that funding. So they need a breakdown of their expenditures, invoices, pretty much everything we would need if we were managing our own grant, for example. So it's pretty detailed. I don't really think a lot of people realize how detailed it is. It's just easier to report.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens, Anthony, if they don't do that and they go, the money's spent, we spend it on something else, and go pound sand, you're not getting it back from us?
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw, what do we do?
No. I get what you're saying.
Do we have to pay it back?
I'll reread the language on that. Like, we would have some liability. However, the stipulations that they would have used that grant for would be null. So a large portion of it would be on them. So I'm trying to just think of a better way to word that.
Yeah, but who goes after them?
The federal government.
Town or the feds?
The feds. The feds will go after them. Because,
I'm not sure. Well, yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, they will, because I mean, you need to explain. All right, 2024, end of 2024. This is everything we are doing with the money. It needs to all be spent by 2026. So one of two things are going to happen. We're going to either, okay, this is everything we're doing with the money. If we didn't explain everything, then the portion that is not being explained, we will not be able to use. It will go back to the federal government. Now, after explaining all of it, we would need to expend it all. Anything that is not expended would automatically go back to the federal government.
But we took the deduction thing, the replacement deduction thing, that the money is now the town's to use as however the town feels is appropriate given our municipal operations.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because we are going under the guise of governmental service. We're just essentially telling the feds we're going to spend it on this. We just need to outline what we're going to spend it on under that guise, and we should be all right. Yeah. However, there are certain other entities that have used this money prior to getting all of the excess documentation out there. So they're doing further documentation. The deduction simplifies our reporting process. So yeah, governmental service, this is the explanation. This is what we're spending the money on, but it's not as labor intensive. Essentially, if I'm explaining that.
Yeah, that part's clear. We'll have to double check on the other parts about what's needed if we give the money to other organizations.
Yeah, I mean, I have the 479-page document. I'll just go through that.
They've provided.
I know. I just those. I don't know, some of those Spark notes.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Anything else, Val?
Nope. Their next meeting is January 2nd, right after New Year.
Okay. Lovely. Item 8, review and approval of July 11th, September 26th, October 10th, and November 28th meeting minutes.
The November 28th meetings have been provided.
Val, I sent you an email. Number 4, there was a grant request and there was no motion noted in it. So that, I think that just needs to be added. Other than that, that was my only change.
Oh, you're right. Great.
I make the motion we approve November 28th minutes with that change.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And number 9, authorize accounts payable warrant and any liquor licenses. Karen, what's going on with that?
The accounts payable warrant is $213,473.65. As Joel noted, we are paying out the appropriations that were approved at town meeting in March. There is a large Cargill salt bill in there. A little part of it will go back to Mount Aid. We'll have to invoice them. But other than that, everything else is pretty much normal. I do not have any liquor licenses at this time.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
And Ian and Darla, there's some stuff here for you to sign.
I signed everything up to now, right? I think.
Well, the resolution's here, and there's another
couple
payroll. I think payroll things.
Yeah, and
I'll be down at 7 a.m. tomorrow to sign those. All right. Number 10, Select Board Roundtable. Let's start with Darla.
The only comment I have tonight is about the trees. I've had a couple people talk to me about, again, we take trees down, we don't replace them. So they'll be happy to hear the discussion we had earlier tonight.
Okay. Michelle.
I think I'm good tonight.
Joel.
Valerie, for you, I had a meeting with, she came to the bank today with a meeting with all of us, a bunch of the legislators, and I cornered her in the corner afterwards, Senator Ruth Hardy, and told her about the water line improvements we're trying to make and stuff. And she said just 2 weeks ago, the committee she sits on, they passed that 50% funding thing. So we should look into that. And I will send, if you don't have her email, send it. I'll send it to you, her email.
I have it.
Yeah, that might be the copy of the grant opportunity that I sent last week.
Yeah, so anyway, I told her that this is not the only street we're going to want to do in the years to come, and that we're pushing from, Virgin's got 30 odd million of 28 million. I don't know what number was, Sharon, for sewer improvements. That was huge. And she wondered if we put in for an earmark from the congressional office for water improvements.
We have not.
So I don't believe we have. So.
Okay. Anything else,
That's
Joe?
all. Nope, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Peaker?
Nada.
Not a Peaker. And I'd just like to thank Bristol Core for an excellent chocolate walk. Since I wasn't involved as I usually was, because I'm no longer executive director, I'd like to thank Alicia and the work that she did for last Friday, which was great. It was great to see a very full Main Street. It was really hopping. I went down with the kids, and it seemed like a lot of stores were busy. And we actually have a full Main Street now. We have a new business that's renting in the Thomas block. That building is sold, and there's a new owner for that. And then there's a boutique used clothing store that's going to go in there. And she was open, like a soft opening. So we actually have, I think, all of our Main Street stores are occupied now, which is always good. And so it was a really, really great night. So I want to thank Bristol Core for that. Okay. Town administrator's report. Anything else to add, Val?
No, nothing I can think to add other than just to let the select board know that you've received an invitation from the assistant judges, invitation to participate. The assistant judges of Addison County invite the public to a meeting to discuss the proposed county budget FY 2024, Friday, December 16th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. in the county clerk's office at the Frank Mahady Courthouse in Middlebury. There you have it.
And Michelle has volunteered to go to that, so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's raising her hand.
It's like you have any input.
You're right.
They just tell us what we have to pay for taxes.
That's right.
That's our input. We write it.
We write the check.
We write the check. That's our input.
Put it in their account.
So as folks know, probably Ian will be managing the next few meetings, to at least 2 meetings, maybe more, depending how things go. I'm sure he'll do a great job, and hope all goes well. I'm sorry I'll be missing out on a lot of our early budget stuff.
Don't be sorry at all, Val.
Val, we want to wish you good luck.
Yes.
Yes. And do you guys need anything from us? Like food train or?
Oh gosh, no, we're good.
You say that. Should I call you? Should I call up Brian?
Just lots of good wills and good vibes.
Here for a minute. Let's ask him that question and see what he says.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to make sure that that Sharon turns off your email, so you're not checking your email 2 days after.
Don't worry, I won't be. I won't
Good.
be.
Good. We don't want to hear from you. Work related. I mean, work related.
Right. I predict that for the first 2 weeks, I'll definitely not be tuned in. Maybe the third week, maybe, but we'll see.
The only concern I have is if she gets stuff that the rest of us don't get, like any bills or anything like that. Hopefully we've caught them all.
Right. Well, I will be putting in an out of office notice.
And will they be automatically forwarded to Ian if they're select board stuff, or?
Good question. I'll have to think about that. I'll add
They
that.
all should be forwarded to Ian.
Well, not everything.
Right. I mean, I don't know how you can do the reply,
set up
but
a rule.
Actually, I don't know how to do that between now and the end of the week. But I would not want to wish the bombardment of emails that I get every day onto anybody.
So
he
anything
can
to
delete
do with the
ones that
select
are
board.
not that he has to deal with. But at least for sure he's going to get everything.
Yeah. What is the it's not just, we need a better protocol for that, because it's not just an automated reply and have that person then email me. It's more than that, because you're going to get automated stuff that isn't able to reply and send a new email. So how do we deal with that? I assume that Sharon has access to your account, Val. Is that correct? Can Sharon be checking?
No. Because she might get personnel stuff that Sharon can't have access to. So that's why I said have it forwarded to Ian.
Okay.
And then he can piecemeal what he has to deal with and what he doesn't have to deal with.
Let's you and I talk tomorrow or Wednesday. And we'll figure something out. And maybe it's something where we create temporary access to your account, and I set it up on a separate, either in a browser, and I can look at it and then go through. We can talk about that, but it does need to be something where we can access everything. I think the forwarding might get a little bit messy, and then an automated reply might not get what we need out of that. Let's talk about that.
The automatic reply could say, "I'm out," but Ian, the select board chair, will be reviewing my emails, on a daily basis, something like that. If you need immediate assistance, contact Ian directly, and here's his contact.
Okay, so that's detailed, and then we'll figure it out. But I think that's going to be better than just forwarding, because I think that could get real messy real quick. So.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's figure that out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because I think if he had a login just to her Office 365, he could see her emails.
Yeah, that could work, and we can change the password. We can change the password. I can log in, and then when you return, you can update your password, and so I wouldn't have access to that anymore.
Okay.
You want to talk on Wednesday morning, something like that? Because you said you're out tomorrow during the day. I know that you're going to be working on the.
And I'll be tied up Wednesday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon. Yeah. So would you want to meet at the office?
Sure, that's fine.
And then I will be in probably around 11. I have a medical thing in the morning.
Okay, Wednesday at 11 or Wednesday 11:30, something like that. I can
make it 11:30. Give me some buffer.
Yep.
Make it noon. He'll bring you lunch.
Thanks, Joel. All right. So meeting with at 11:30 or so. Okay, great. I can ping you. Excellent. I noticed a couple in the other correspondence. What was I looking at?
There's the revolving loan fund status report.
There's the library report. Yep.
Yes. The architectural assessor person that we got a grant for and hired through the Preservation Trust of Vermont completed their assessment of the Lawrence Library, and their final report is provided through a link under other business reports. It's very detailed, and we may wish to consider some of the recommendations when we're going through the budget process and the capital building fund.
Yeah, and we're looking at. I mean, I talked to Coco briefly, and she said we're up in the area of like $70,000 worth of improvements that is recommended to be made to the building. And obviously we can sort of start to tackle that in smaller chunks. And we know that some of it, what needs to be done, especially the repainting of the main steps as well as around the building. But there's obviously a lot more in that report. It's very detailed, which is nice.
Right, right. Other items of note are a note of thanks to Bruce from Adora Fraser, very thoughtful note.
Yep.
And also notes from Lee Beckwith thanking the select board and others for responding quickly to the Mountain Terrace issue. That we made reference today to the Willowell ARPA Fund communication from Tasha Ball. More information about the National Opioid Settlement Allocation Notice. In this case, it looks as though a number of people that were originally allocated funds had them taken away. If you go through that list, there's a lot of negatives. Yeah, a lot of negatives. But Bristol's was not. So
is it because they took it away or they declined it?
Either they declined it or took it away or reallocated it or something.
Well, no, it's if you look at it, it's all counties. It's versus towns or cities.
I thought there were towns and cities in there too.
Not that I'm well. Oh no, you're right. Albany,
Bristol's listed.
Albany. Oh
and
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing they didn't respond or whatever. Yeah.
Or I wonder if
you're right.
countywide there wasn't there wasn't a designated agency maybe or something county that would handle it. So they turned it down. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's counties and then it said, non-participating. What did it just say then? Hold on, where did that go? It said non-participating subdivisions. That's interesting.
Yeah, so at some point, the select board will need to discuss what to do with this money. I think right now we're a little over, $3,000? Whatever the figure says next to Bristol.
It says 6,209.
Wow.
Well, it details the different allocations, and I guess, so we've got payments 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Do we know what we've received so far?
I thought I've only seen 2 payments.
We've received half of that then.
Okay. So Anthony, is the $6,209, is that the full amount, the total we'll receive for the entire thing?
From what I know, or initially we were only going to get those 2 payments, but
over 18 years.
Yeah, I know.
So one of the payments is over 11 years, I think, and the other one is over 18 years.
It's going to be a small, consistent amount, I would say.
Well, so looking at it, it's got it has listing of 5 payments, and then it says total 2022 Janssen payment $6,209.72. So is there a 2023 payment as well, or I don't know how long it continues into how it's broken down.
I haven't studied it that closely, but as Anthony mentioned, this is apparently half. So, which sounds about right, about 3,000 that we've already received.
Okay.
And like I said, over 11 and 18 years. So
yeah. And we mentioned at one point talking to Mountain Health to see what kind of. I know they offer services there. I feel like we mentioned that at one of our meetings, reaching out to them to see if that would be, if they could use those funds.
We mentioned it. I haven't had a moment to even think about it.
No, we received the first, half of that amount.
Okay.
So far.
Yeah, that sounds right.
They're not very descriptive about when they release funds. They give you a letter. I want to say a month prior. From what I've noticed, I mean, 2 is not necessarily a pattern, but we'll find out. Hopefully with a little bit more description. But this has been ongoing, rather.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
I wish it was a little bit more detailed to know when you were going to get that full amount.
Right.
Maybe it's in there somewhere. Okay, interesting.
Payment for year 1.
Yeah. All right. Anything else with other correspondence?
No, I
Tom?
think I've covered it.
Okay. I don't think we have executive session, or do we?
Did you talk about the state's letter or not?
Right. I suppose that maybe a short one for that.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll make a motion. We enter executive session to discuss possible litigation per 1 BSA section 313.
Correct.
Okay. Motion is second for discussion. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. We are now in executive session.
Thank you.
Night, everybody.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks, Jimmy.
everyone.